most controversial discussions regarding the soul revolve around its existence in the preceding sphere before this world. In my opinion, the soul has lived and experienced prior stages. In Islamic teachings, there is mention of the world of spirits, which lasted for 2,000 years, and another analogous world known as the world of particles. In these worlds, Allah Almighty entrusted souls with responsibilities and commitments pertaining to sound beliefs and righteous actions. Allah, the Almighty, has created the souls of human beings, without any attachment or form, in the same number as the children of Prophet Adam until the Day of Judgment. After 2,000 years, He created bodies for those souls, resembling tiny and precise particles, but in the same physical form as the worldly bodies. He placed those souls within these bodies. The first realm is known as the realm of spirits, and the second realm is referred to as the realm of particles, or the realm of covenant. However, there are numerous stories, narratives, and concepts that support this theory. The following real-life story is an example of such accounts. I live in a beautiful coastal city. My home surrounded by a tea garden. 20 years ago, on a summer day, I was sitting next to a tea garden and gazing at the garden gate. I noticed a handsome young man standing inside the garden, meaning on this side of the gate, and looking at me. I got up and approached him to see what he wanted. And why had he entered the garden? With great surprise, I noticed that as I got closer to him, he became smaller and gradually turned into a tiny particle until he disappeared completely. Even when I reached a distance of 10 meters from him, there was no trace of him whatsoever. At this point, I became somewhat confused and said to myself, perhaps I have imagined the existence of this young man. So I returned to the original spot. When I looked at the garden gate again, I saw that the young man was standing there just like before, staring at me, as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. With fear overpowering me, I raised my voice and asked him, "Who are you? What do you want? Where did you go just a few moments ago? How did you disappear?" He gently replied, "I want to establish a connection with you. Since you have passed through the path of oppression and saved the oppressed from the hands of the oppressor, I must teach you some valuable knowledge and truths as a reward for your actions." I asked him, "What is your name? Where have you come from?" In response to my question, he said, "I haven't taken a physical form yet, as you imagine, to be able to introduce myself by name. Perhaps in the near future, I will take a physical form and be given a name, and then I can introduce myself to you." I insisted, "It's not possible to come closer in this way. Please come closer, so we can sit together and have a conversation face to face." He responded, "It's not possible for me to get closer to you than this, but I will try to convey my voice to you as if someone's sitting beside you. And you don't have to shout. If you speak softly, I can hear you." After a few exchanges between us, I felt as if I could hear his voice from this close proximity, even though there was about 30 meters of distance between us. For 10 days, he appeared at the same spot every day, precisely from an hour before sunset until the sun disappeared. And at the exact moment of sunset, he would vanish. Some days, I would arrive a few minutes earlier than the usual hour before sunset, but he hadn't arrived yet. The sun would be positioned in such a way that as soon as he arrived, it would illuminate the spot where he stood. And as the sun disappeared, he would gradually fade away and vanish. In the first couple of days, as an experiment, whenever he appeared, I would move towards him to get closer. However, As I approached him and reached a distance of 10 meters, he would gradually shrink and disappear from my sight. He would say to me, "Why don't you allow me to teach you what I know?" Strangely, during that time, despite being alone in the garden, all my fear and anxiety had completely vanished. It became so normal to me that I didn't even think about who this young man was or what he did. I became indifferent to his identity, and naturally, I didn't share this experience with anyone. On the last day, I didn't even ask for his address, and I wasn't bothered by his departure. During those 10 days, he taught me everything I needed to know about sciences, knowledge, and religious teachings. After those 10 days, I didn't see him anymore. However, one night, I woke up from a sound that seemed to resemble his voice and went towards the door and the spot where he used to stand. Everything was dark, except for a white, spark-like flame that appeared on the ground in that very spot. But as I approached him, it vanished from my sight. Approximately 19 years have passed since that incident, meaning just last year. I was sitting in the same spot where I used to sit, although the condition of the trees and the tea garden had changed since 20 years ago. Coincidentally, the garden gate was open as well. I saw the same young man, with the same appearance, knocking on the gate with the back of his hand, asking for permission to enter the garden. I told him, "Please, come in." He entered the garden, and this time, following the same plan I had with him 19 years ago, I didn't move forward. However, this time he came towards me, and I took him to my room. I was busy hosting him and said to him, "Your appearance hasn't changed at all compared to 19 years ago, but your character has." He said, "You are mistaken. I am not older than 18 years, and I have never been to this city before. I have just arrived in this city a few days ago with my father to take a short stroll by the sea." "What are you talking about?" Despite my attempts to convince myself that I might be mistaken, it seemed impossible for me to have made a mistake in this matter. The appearance was the same, the tone of voice was the same. So, to reassure myself, I conducted a few tests with him. First, I asked, "So why have you come to our garden?" He replied, "If I am bothering you, I can leave." I said, "No, I mean something else. Please answer my questions without any discomfort. These questions are of utmost importance to me." He responded, "I was passing by this place, and I don't know why I felt an extraordinary urge to see your garden. It seems like I have seen you before and I have a great fondness for you. That's why I entered the garden with your permission." Then he added, "By the way, I don't know why I feel like this garden should be different somehow." I asked, "For example, how should it be?" He said, "For example, there are many trees here now, but there is no tea garden. Wouldn't it be better if you trim these trees and create a tea garden in this place?" I replied, "Actually, around 20 years ago, it was exactly like that, but over time, the trees in the garden grew larger and overshadowed the tea bushes, causing them to disappear. God willing, we will trim the trees again and create a tea garden, just as you suggested. But you must promise to visit our home whenever you come to this city." He said, "I'm very fond of you and your home. I want to see what my father has to say." I asked, "What is your name?" He replied, "It seems that now I have taken physical form before you, and my name, given by my father, is Mehdi." I asked, "What did you mean when you said that I have taken physical form before you now?" He responded, "I don't know, it just came to me in my own words." I remember that 20 years ago, when I asked him his name, he replied, I haven't taken a physical form yet to introduce myself by name. Furthermore, at that time, he had shared some religious rulings and teachings with me that were subject to debate among scholars. So, I asked him, "What is your opinion on this particular matter and that particular matter?" He shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know about these things. I haven't studied religious sciences." I said, "Now, please share whatever you think because these matters are of great importance to me." He replied, "In my opinion, it is better for things to be as they are, and all issues should be addressed without any discrepancy compared to what was previously told to me." I then asked him, "In your view, which part of this garden is more delightful, and where do you enjoy being the most?" He said, "I don't know why, but I find the corner of the garden near the gate, the entrance to the garden, particularly appealing. Since I arrived here, I always feel like going there and being present in that spot." At this point, I became certain that this young man was the same person from 20 years ago who had contacted me, as the corner he pointed out was the exact spot where he used to stand during the 10 days we conversed. I asked him, "Is it possible for me to meet your father?" He replied, "There is no problem." So, we went together to the house of one of their friends who was hosting them. I asked his father, "How old is this young man?" He said, "He is 18 years old." I said, "Could you share some details of his life with me?" He asked, "Yes, but why do you make this request?" I replied, "I have a purpose in mind, which I might share with you later." He briefly narrated the events from his birth until the day I sat with him, without anything particularly fascinating. However, because I couldn't explain the true nature and essence of the matter to them, I didn't reveal the details and simply mentioned that I had seen this young man in a dream 20 years ago, and he had taught me certain things. According to the teachings of Islamic scholars, human souls existed and lived for many years before entering this worldly realm. They possessed all knowledge and had the ability to engage in various activities. In that realm, they were attached to small bodies, identical to the bodies we have today. They interacted and socialized with one another. Even when they encounter the same places or individuals from that realm in this world, they feel a special affinity towards them. However, they do not remember where or when they had seen them before. Despite this, the familiarity and connection they experience create a sense of comfort and familiarity.